I was in a girls' school. We were about 5 of us. We were there, boys. There was Sam Magara. He was there with us. Then this a man called Nasan Tandekwire, he was there also. And then we had a Mnyarwanda boy. His father was called Kachere or something. And then myself.
After Yoweri Museveni, Amos Kaguta and Esteri Kokundeka went on to have a daughter, Violet Kajubiri, and in 1960 had their second son, Caleb Akandwanaho, who in future would take on the nom de guerre Salim Saleh. In 1959, Yoweri Museveni joined Mbarara High School for 2 years, where he did what was then called junior secondary, and thereafter joined Ntare School for 6 years of high school. With a Christian foundation strongly encouraged by his charismatic mother, Esteri Kokundeka, and the grounding of the work ethic of the Bahima cattle-keeping background, formal education was a major advantage for Museveni. His time in school fundamentally changed his understanding of society and world affairs. History was particularly illuminating for him. He was enthralled by the study of the Ottoman Empire, the use of ships to cross oceans, and the establishment of trade routes across Africa and the globe. The tales of Bartholomew Diaz reaching the Cape of Good Hope in 1488 and the first Arabs and Europeans reaching the East African coast in the 1800s were of specific interest to the young Museveni. They reinforced his belief in the ability of Africans to improve themselves and their circumstances. By 1966, when Milton Obote abrogated the Uganda Constitution, Yoweri Museveni and a few of his contemporaries were in their final year of Ntare School. Before that, in 1964, a referendum had been held concerning the Lost Counties dispute between the Buganda and Bunyoro kingdoms concerning Buyaga and Bugangaizi counties. The question was whether these counties were to remain as part of the Buganda kingdom, be returned to the Bunyoro kingdom, or instead become a separate district. The dispute was won in favor of Bunyoro.
After the independence, you know that short history. From 1962, Obote takes power. Then Buganda is the Kabaka becomes the president, non-executive. Then by 64, there were already differences. The Banyoro, when they went to when the leaders here went to Lancaster to accept the general principles of independence, there was a clause that Bunyoro Kingdom, the counties which they lost under Kabalega, should determine their fate through a referendum. So they brought it in Parliament. We need a referendum as part of the independence agreement. Buganda opposed it. But then the other members said, no, we should have it. So they went for elections in the lost counties, and they voted to leave Buganda and be part of Bunyoro. That's Buyaga and Bugangaizi. Previously, the map of Buganda it used to touch the Karbat. But when they voted, they cut off those two counties. And that is how the fighting started.
You know, it's a pity. When Obote came into power, before he came to power, when UPC was formed, he made a speech at a rally in Jinja that UPC had come to destroy Mengo. It's a complicated situation. Buganda became colonized before Uganda was formed. And the agreement, the 1900 agreement they had with the British was for Buganda. And Uganda had not been formed. But there was a provision.
Ready. And he has that unique ability to get into, to understand quickly what you are trying to tell him or where you are coming from, and be able to help you, you know, get to where you want to go.
Taking Uganda as an example, our society at that time was a pre-capitalist, mainly non-money one, using barter trade, and comprised of three social classes: the feudalists, the artisans, and the peasants. By 1962, at independence, this pre-capitalist economy and society had somewhat metamorphosed into a typical enclave colonial economy with a small island of modernity that had entered the money economy, surrounded by a sea of backward subsistence economic activities that only catered for food and no cash.
Now you see, if you don't learn from history, you repeat the mistakes. So I think the NRM, they learned the lessons from what had happened. They knew the reasons why they were fighting against the system, and you can say, I don't know what to say, that whether they benefited, but because if you don't make a mistake, mistakes make you learn fast. So they knew very well where the problems are. They analyzed the problems, and they were able to provide good solutions.
So people already knew that this was a different group. This is a different army. This is a different government. The soldiers actually don't attack people, they help people. So there was that. Secondly, we created institutions, human rights, the Commission of Inquiry into the human rights violation, so that whoever has a complaint, instead of avenging, taking vengeance, you report to the Human Rights Commission that investigates, and so on. Then there was unity, because we were preaching that what caused the problem in Uganda was sectarianism of tribes, of religion. Now we are preaching unity of everybody. We are returning the Kabaka. We are returning the properties of Asians that we are taken. So all these programs gave confidence to the population.
With the clear-headed ideology of the NRM, we had correctly diagnosed the problem of Uganda. Philosophically and strategically, the main mistake was to emphasize identity, religion, tribe, and gender chauvinism, instead of emphasizing interests such as markets where you sell your products, security, infrastructure, etc.
I remember 1985, I traveled, my mother died and we had to go to Rukunjiri for burial. We actually had to sleep in Mbarara because the journey was just way too long. We left here very early in the morning, got to Mbarara in the middle of the night, spent a night in Mbarara, then traveled again in the morning. From here to Rukunjiri now is 5 hours. That's an incredible change. And you hear these stories again and again. Moving here to Karamoja right now, you can drive this time 4 o'clock. You'll be in Moroto maybe about 8 o'clock. That's an incredible thing that has happened. So I think you see it all around us.
I think the biggest achievement of this government has been tremendous development in infrastructure.
But the nuclear, this 28, had now created the new Fronasa, the bigger one, the one of the 9,000 now. So those who fell out were replaced by many more. Like, for instance, the group, the 300 whom were sent to Monduli during the transitional period. That's where the Tumuines were, Kutesa Pecos, Joram Mugume, Kashaka Stephen. They were part of that, not part of the 28, but part of the 9,000.
By the time we are now assembling, we are in Nairobi, I think even in Nairobi, we could not disclose our real identity. So we had taken an assumed name that everybody around the group would know, not your real name. The reason being, in case one of us deserted, or in case one of us was an enemy agent, or even if he was not an enemy, but he deserted, and going back home, he says, I found Ivan Koreta, I found Saleh, I found Edi, I found Odongo. Then the repercussions were that the families of Koreta would all be rounded up, of course, be badly tortured, and eventually be killed.
So the names you get from my group, those are jargon names. Then Saleh said, I'm Salim Saleh. Then Mure also, then all from Pepino. The one who recruited called himself Zoyone. So we didn't know the actual name. So that's how we got the name. Ivan Koreta, Freddy Rujema. Those are the names we gave to ourselves.
And you?
Me, I remain Bosco. Rangi. Rangi is mean Majan. Because my father, my namesake, was called Omure Rangi. So I put myself Rangi Bosco. Yeah. So we moved.
And when we got in, we waited a few more weeks. A few others were coming, 2 here, 1 there. And I think it must have been middle of December, or the second week, I think, or 3rd week of December. Then we were led across the river Ruvuma, the border with Tanzania and Mozambique. And we went on foot for several days and several nights, and got picked up by truck and taken to Montepuez military camp, which became our school for the time we were in Mozambique.
When we reached Montepuez, that camp was formerly for commandos, for the Portuguese. So let Samora turn it to train his people, and then he offered that camp to us, to Muse. I think he was preparing us for a bigger thing, but gradual, because we all came from different backgrounds, but now he was uniting us. That's a proper leadership. To the point none of us want to escape. He was not telling us that you failed to escape. No. So we find ourselves being more solid.